Hello and welcome to a Pro Football Hall of Fame archive exclusive where we honor the heroes of the game, preserve its history, promote its values, and celebrate excellence everywhere. I'm Jameer Howerton alongside Jason Retner. And Jason, today we're honored to have football royalty on the phone. But before we dive into our conversation and introduce our guests, the NFL has just recently named the finalists for the Walter Payton NFL Man of the Year Award presented by Nationwide. And the finalists are Larry Fitzgerald, Eli Manning, and Greg Olsen. And today, Jason, we are honored to have Walter Payton's running back coach, legendary running back coach of the NFL, Johnny Roland, and college Hall of Famer.
Wow, we are lucky to have you today. Thank you so much for being on.
Coach Roland, thank you for your time.
Good morning, and Happy New Year.
Coach, before we dive in and talk about the player Walter Payton, let's just take a step back and talk about the man and the principles that he stood on.
Well, obviously he was a great player, but he was also as great a player as he was even a better human being. I mean, he loved his community, loved Chicago, loved his teammates, wanted to be an example to the young kids in terms of go to school, get good grades. If you aspire to be a football player, great. If not, go on to be a lawyer, a doctor, or whatever your profession that you study to be. And so he was just a genuine, as they would say down south, good old boy.
You coached Walter Payton from 1983 to 88, and I don't mean to downgrade what you did with him. It wasn't natural talent, but he seems like he was probably one of the easiest players to coach just because we all know his work ethic behind it. But what type of player was he?
Well, I often kid other interviewers that before I got him, Walter couldn't walk and chew gum at the same time. But obviously, that's a fallacy. No, he was a great player, and he was a great guy to coach because he wanted to be coached. He had always asked if this is what I want in terms of technique and fundamentals, and he was obviously a great player and had great success before I got to him in '83. His previous two running back coaches obviously were, great fundamentalists like I was. And, football, you got to have talent, but you got to also have great techniques and fundamentals. And but he was an easy guy to work with because, like I said, he wanted to be coached.
Coach, how was he like in practice? Because I am honored to have worked with you at the New York Jets, and I was your little ball boy assistant. I had to add a little shameless plug in there.
Well, I had to bring you up and raise you too.
Yes, exactly. So, and I know in practice you're very lively, but you're also, like you said, the fundamentals, the hardcore. But what was he like in practice?
Oh, he loved to practice. That's where I think he got his therapy from. Is being out with the boys, and obviously a great prankster. But when it came to getting down to business and getting work done on the field, he enjoyed it because he just enjoyed playing football, and he also enjoyed practicing football. And he was just in his world, so to speak, when he was out there with his fellow comrades.
You don't hear too often that players enjoy practice anymore.
Hey, well, if you're going to play the game and play it at a high level, you better enjoy it because there's more to it than just having God-given ability. I mean, you got to, as I often say, you also got to do the little things in terms of having some recognition in terms of anticipation of what you have seen on tape as to what the defense is presenting to you. And then beating those guys across the ball because they get paid too.
Did his love for practice, love for the community, love for the game, did that influence his teammate in the locker room?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because they, obviously being Walter Payton, the guy, he was also the leader. And as he went so-called as the other guys did that followed his lead, and he was a great character. Got raised right by mom and dad, and I think he had one brother and maybe one sister. So, and then, of course, coming from Jackson State, which was kind of a loving and hugging environment, and he had played for Bob Hill, who was a great coach for and a historically black college there at the time. And so, I mean, when I got him, he was a finished product, but it's like a diamond; you can always shine it up.
Now, Coach, obviously on game day, there's a lot going on, and I know you're really managing your players. But if you could talk about during pregame, what were some of the rituals that you saw from Walter, or what were some of the things that you had your running backs go through leading up to the game?
Well, that's kind of a broad question, but I mean, they have their routine. I mean, obviously, you get up for breakfast on Sunday morning, and you do your little breakfast thing, whatever they did. I mean, because I don't know what they ate. We were together, so to speak, but yet still we were apart. So I really didn't get into the minutiae of all the little things. I was just trying to make sure that we were prepared, we were ready, and I used to tell them when we got to the locker room in our last little get together in terms of covering details, is that I used to always kid them and tell them that I wanted them to be loose. I didn't want them to be uptight. So I would crack a little joke and said, "Okay, the game's been scheduled. We showed up. So what we gonna do?" It's too late to get scared now.
Obviously,
but I think they appreciated the fact that we've had a good week of practice. We should be cognizant about how we should go about our business and go out and have some fun, because football should be a game of fun, even though it's that's how they make their living, and that's generally how they if you're in the business, want to have your name recognized, and being in the newspapers, and ESPN was in its early stages, but they were still kind of an important venue.
Absolutely. And obviously, Coach, you're on the sidelines, coaching, managing the players, but did you ever just sit back and just go, wow, when watching Walter Payton?
Yeah, there's a run against I believe it's against Denver, where he breaks out to the right side, and he got out in open field, and the guy kind of chasing him, had the angle, and he always had that famous leg kick, and it just broke him down so bad. It was a great on Monday to go back and watch it on tape. And I remember another run. I think it might have been the Saints or Oakland in Chicago, and now that was going down the left sideline, and a simple little place. It was a toss to the strong side, and it was well blocked. And of course, he saw the opening and saw the crease, and got through the hole, and then veered to the outside along the sideline. And again, that leg kick, it just mesmerized the guy because he thought he would go, break down and give him the shoulder dip or, the forearm flipper or whatever. But he just did it all with his legs and his versatility. He had loose hips and he had great feet, so he was able to get in and out of cuts without having to be a struggle, without having to stop and and slow down. He can make full cuts, primarily going full speed.
As to why he was named Sweetness.
There is a reason why he was named Sweetness.
Now, Coach, switching gears a bit, let's talk about the man off the field. You mentioned earlier how he had an impact on the community, but let's dive deep and talk about that. What were some of the things that he did in the community, and how much, and all the love that he received in the community?
Well, I wasn't with him a lot during the off season. He'll come by the office periodically once in a while just to harass me. But he'd always donate his time to worthy causes that he believed in, and tried to, if he could, help raise monies. He was, of course, a businessman. He had bars and restaurants, and so he was just a guy who, if you were somewhat downtrodden and you needed some help, he he was notorious for, just, I wouldn't say giving money away, but he was, if somebody needed some help, well, I mean, there he was as like Santa Claus.
Wow, Coach. And when you think about that, how just being Santa Claus, like you said, taking care of the community, how proud of you of the NFL and the way they're carrying on the tradition of the Walter Payton Man of the Year Award?
Well, it's certainly well-deserved, and it's rightly named for the right person who believes in doing the right things. And I was just so happy that we had a kind of a special relationship in the sense that it was never about kind of a coach-player. I think he saw me as kind of an older brother. And, I would coach him just as hard as I would coach my other guys, but he just seemed like to be a guy that, okay, what you want? Let's go. Let's get some work. We got work to do. And so, he, as I said earlier, he made my job easy.
Let's talk about the man behind Walter Payton. And you've had such a phenomenal career, both as a player and as a coach. But before we get into your playing career, let's talk about not only did you coach Walter Payton, but you also coached a couple other Hall of Fame running backs. You coached Jerome Bettis. You coached Emmitt Smith. Absolutely. So what was that like?
I only had him for 1 year, though.
Right. But still, though, how was that compared to coaching Walter Payton? Did you see similarities between these three Hall of Famers?
In terms of their off-the-field deals, sure, absolutely. I mean, they were all fun-loving people. But when it came to football and getting the work done, I mean, they were about business and getting that done. Jerome, we had I guess a little running battle because, Jerome was an every down kind of a player, as Walter was. But Jerome thought that he knew protections, and we'd always debate about protections and how best can we protect the quarterback. Well, I mean, he had some great ideas, but then some of it was a little outlandish. But in terms of being sound, fundamental, keep your quarterback upright and, going to the next play. But he was a funny guy. Now, here's another guy, perpetual smile on his face. Again, another guy who believed in giving and sharing. Loved the man. He just that he and the head coach kind of got crosswired, and so he gets traded after the '95 season, goes over to Pittsburgh, and then we end up drafting Lawrence Phillips. Well, we didn't come out on the good end on that trade.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah.
But let's not take away from Lawrence physical abilities. I mean,
absolutely.
He had the potential to be a really fine football player. I mean, because he had another gift in other ways.
Coach, not only did you coach some of the top talent that like Jason Retner just mentioned, our Gold Jackets, Emmitt Smith, Jerome Bettis, but you've also too played against some of the men who are here in the Hall of Fame. Share some cool stories now, because I know you a big running back, 2'3", toting that rock, and I know you laid some wood, and I know you got some wood laid on you. So, but
well, see, football back in those days were football. I mean, now it's a passing contest now, but these days, back in the days that I played, obviously, we had limited formations. It was rough and tumble, and yeah, I mean, some of those guys that are in the Hall, the Ray Nitschkes of the world, the Dick Buckerses of the world. Let's see. I mean, you can just go on down the. I'm thinking other linebackers that per se, Leroy Kelly, Bob Lilly. I mean, great guys, great football players, and obviously great citizens. Let's see, Chuck Hawley, I don't think is in. Trying to think. It's mind-boggling as to the guys you line up and play against, but I don't think about them every day, so they don't come up at the top of my brain right now.
Got you. And with all the accomplishments, when you look at your college playing career, but not, let's take it back, your high school, your college, your NFL playing career, and your coaching career. But 2005, your jersey was retired and it was placed into the College Hall of Fame. But not only that, you were inducted into the College Hall of Fame in 1998. But when you look at your whole career overall and your accomplishments, what does it mean to you and your family?
Oh, well, playing a game that you loved. I mean, when I was growing up in Corpus Christi, Texas, there wasn't a lot to do, but the boys in the neighborhood would get together, and obviously whatever game was in season, that's what we played. And I was probably, in my mind, I was a better baseball player in the earlier days than I was a football player. But when I got graduated from high school and on my way to the University of Missouri, Coach Levine, who was my head coach there, I won't say he lied to me. He just didn't really tell me the truth. And he'd say, "Oh, sure, you can play baseball." And but what he left out a little detail is that as a freshman, and if you're on a football scholarship, you have to go through spring training, spring ball. And so by the time spring ball was over with, and you had to, then all of a sudden about 2 or 3 weeks left in the semester, it was time to make up time to make sure that you're eligible for the next football season. And growing up in Texas, there wasn't a lot of job opportunities. So one summer I would work in Kansas City, the next summer I would work in St. Louis, and just rotated them. So if you're going to play baseball, you better see that number 2 pitch. you better see that curveball. But and then of course I was renting and and working construction jobs, and so again you need to play baseball. And I didn't know, the teams in the area, if they were looking for players or whatever the deal was. But then I knew I needed my rest because I knew that work day was going to be coming up very shortly. And I was the kind of guy that, I knew I needed my rest. And I prided myself on being, in shape and restful and all those kind of things. But I had to make a decision. After my freshman year, do I want to play baseball or do I want to just concentrate on football? And being an action-orientated kind of guy, I chose football because, baseball has got too much downtime. It wasn't, I would always say it's not an action sport. So I made a decision and concentrated on football and went on to Missouri. And as you just stated, we had played with some really fine football teams under good leadership, and went on and with my God-given ability and willingness to work and listen and absorb, and so we got drafted by the Cardinals, and 7 years with the Cardinals and 1 year with the New York Giants. Then after that, I had a nasty, dirty habit I had to eat, so I was offered a job. I was offered a job in Green Bay in 1974 with the Packers under the tutelage of Dan Devine, and so I had that offer, and I'm more, do I want to try to play one more year, or if I was going to coach, that was the perfect time to do it, and didn't have to go through the high school or junior college or even the college ranks. I just went from an active player to being a coach on the field in 74. So, 27 years later, retired here now in St. Louis, and then chasing that little golf ball and enjoying life.
Wow. Well, you obviously made the right choice in choosing football because
yeah. There's a couple of decisions in life that you got to make, and fortunately for myself, the opportunity was there, and after some soul searching and whatever, I made those decisions, and they turned out to be good ones.
Yeah, and you've had obviously such a major positive impact on the game of football. So much that you really paved the way for so many African Americans, players, coaches, so much that Tony Dungy, who obviously is one of the best coaches of all time, was just recently enshrined mentioned you in his enshrinement speech on such a big stage. What did that mean to you?
Unfortunately, I did not see the telecast of his speech, but I saw telecast of the rest of it. Brett Favre and the other guys. What's the guy from Granite City, the linebacker from Pittsburgh? I saw their the talking speeches, but I tell you what, I was out. And by the time I got home, my telephone was blowing up. He said, Did you hear, Coach Dungy mention your name as being somewhat of a pioneer? Well, hell, I've been a pioneer all my life, coming from Corpus Christi to the University of Missouri. And at the time, the Southwest Conference wasn't recruiting minority athletes. And so if I was going to play major college football, I had to basically leave the state. But knowing and looking back, I didn't realize that I was being a pioneer at the time, where paving the way for other minority kids to leave the state of Texas and go on to wherever they want to go to, Minnesota, Michigan, or wherever. Michigan State, the Smith boys from Beaumont, Texas, Bubba and Tody and a number of other guys. But in life, there are roads that you travel. Some of them are super highways, and some of them are the back roads. And you got to be able to adjust, adapt, compromise, and improvise.
Well, Coach, we want to thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us here for this exclusive conversation. We thank you very much.